let's talk to some more of our callers. Alston has a question for us.
What up? I'm Austin. I'm a Patreon subscriber, and this question is for anyone that has input on the team. I'm currently redesigning my home office, and I want it to be ergonomic, somewhat EMF proof, and beautiful. What product recommendations do you guys have for a laptop stand, keyboard, mouse, chair, etc.? I'm grateful for any input. Thank you.
Okay, so joining me on the phone right now is Alston himself. I had some more questions for you, Alston. So let's dive into this. You want a home office space. I assume it's home office, right?
Yeah.
Okay, beautiful. So home office space, you said relatively EMF proof. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about ergonomics. You said beautiful as well. I love that because, as you know, beauty is essential. And we just had Tomcat in here. She edits some of these video episodes for us. And she goes, I just like coming to the studio because it's like, I feel like it's a space of calm. You've got the ambiance, the music playing. And the thing I was explaining to her was back in my retail days, I would always encourage the store manager for the stores that I oversaw to make the back room as tidy as the retail floor. And that was difficult for a lot of people to understand because it's like, but no customers are going to see this. And I get it, but there's also an energy back there that carries forward. And we try to do the same thing here in the studio. And Nicodemus and I have done so many like interviews at a lot of places like Today Show or CBS This Morning, and they have these really beautiful sets. And then as soon as you get out of the frame of the camera, it is a nightmare of cords and cables and equipment and boxes and bins. And it's just filled with clutter. And you don't see any of that on camera. And I kind of want to do the opposite here with our workspace for the minimalists. So Professor Sean's over there on the couch right now, and he's just sitting on a very beautiful couch that we have. It's super simple. But even like the sound panels that are in this room, they're custom made and they're beautiful. We paid more money for them and they match the paint on the wall. So a lot of the details really matter. And it depends on how far you want to go with the details, but even things like light switches and light covers. Like we will go way out of our way to make a space beautiful. And then we'd have these cheap plastic light covers or the cheap plastic recessed lighting and the ugly overhead lights. And it kind of ruins the whole experience of the space. And so for me, a few things that stand out that are important to me, and I don't know whether or not they're important to you, Alston. Natural light is something that's important to me. Do you have access to natural light in that office space?
Yeah. It's right in front of me. That's right what I have behind my monitor.
Oh, beautiful. Okay. So you get to sort of look out at something, or at least you have that natural light that is there. You're basically asking, what does like the ideal minimalist home office look like? What's the perfect minimalist home office? And it always starts with a question. And that question is like, what is your outcome? Like, what do you want to use it for, Austin?
40-hour work week, typically. For focused work, basically, I'm in tech sales. So something I can have my laptop on my desk and work as efficient as possible, whereas my body doesn't find ways to help my body not break down if I'm doing that for 10 years, per se. Ergonomic solutions.
Yeah. We had a mobility coach in here once, Alex Alexander. We did a whole episode with him. And one of the things that he said that I loved is the best position is the next position. And that's always a difficult one for me because I want like what's the set position? What is the best chair for me to sit in at the best desk? And then I can be parked out there for 8 hours a day, right?
Yeah.
And of course, that is what causes the problems. Yes, I want an ergonomic chair, but also knowing that being in any position, even the best position, is no longer the best position because we're not moving. And so I found for me that having a space that is filled with space, because a minimalist workspace is kind of shaped by the space as much as it is shaped by the work itself. And so for me, we have, even in the studio, like it's a carpeted studio because that helps sound dampen, but there's a lot of space on the floor, and we intentionally don't put cameras on the floor. What we're filming with, these cameras are coming out of the ceiling. We had to design that intentionally. All the cables are hidden here in the ceiling as well. And as a result, we have all this free space on the floor that we can do regular movement practices. And so we can get down and squat. I'm standing on an earthing mat right now, which you don't see on camera. But and then throughout, when we take a break, I'll often lay on the floor, get on a yoga block, or constantly trying to find ways to move because the best position is the next position. And even at home, in my home office, I have a little timer that I keep on the desk, and every 22 minutes I get up and I do some sort of movement. Usually it's just a couple squats or a couple stretches, because even though I have a nice ergonomic chair that's designed by Herman Miller, that's great. It's fine. The chairs here are Herman Miller chairs. I'm a big fan, but I'm not a big fan of sitting all the time and staying in the same position. And so you want to be able to work for 40 hours a week in that space. I say that's great. How am I going to design the space then so that I can get in at least enough movement that I don't feel drained by being in there 8 hours a day? Do you ever feel drained when you're working from the space?
I feel like I've created a pretty good rhythm of, I typically have something my feet to mess with to have my feet stimulated. Then I have a stand-up desk so I can stand up, go down. I have a timer too. So about every hour and a half, I go outside, do some stretches, push-ups, squats, kind of like what you mentioned. I don't necessarily have an issue with the energy. I just know that you also focus on it, and other people with the minimalist crew. And any guidance that you guys have with other tips in terms of maybe every 22 minutes stand up, or, hey, this keyboard has been really helpful for my finger that I was having an issue with, something like that.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned,
that kind of answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned the EMF, and that's one thing that we did at home. We hardwired our house so that you don't have to have Wi-Fi. In terms of an electronic keyboard, I do use a Bluetooth keyboard. So full disclosure here, I've tried other ones. Like if you want a good mechanical keyboard, there's one I've used in the past. It's by a company called DOS. I'll put a link to it in the show notes, or we'll send you a link to it as well. It's just a mechanical keyboard that you can plug right into your laptop directly. I hardwire the Ethernet, so also you get faster speeds typically when you do that, but then also you can have the Wi-Fi off, or you're not dependent on the Wi-Fi going down as much either. Ultimately, I'm often asking myself, what can I go without? And I know that at first will seem less helpful because it's like, what can I have in my space? And you already talked about, you have a standing desk, and so do I. Although I prefer to sit most of the time, especially if I'm doing something that's creative. I like to sit and write, and I just give myself space for movement. But I'm always asking myself, what can I go without? We often see some of the most brilliant minds, and you see their workspaces, and it's one of two things. It's either an utter mess, it's total chaos, it's like a bomb went off in their office, or it is pristine. It's Steve Jobs, right? You look at the famous photo of him in his living room, and it's just him on the floor with a lamp, basically. And I think either one of those can be suitable for an individual. I think the problem with having too much stuff in the space, too much stimuli for me and for many people that I've dealt with is it gets in the way. It becomes a bit of a distraction. And so often I ask myself, what can I go without in this space? And that means the desktop that I'm working from doesn't have anything on it. Nothing just stays there. There is a home for everything, and none of it is a flat surface. And so I implement the no piles rule. Anytime I get mail or something that shows up on my desk, I take care of it immediately. And I try not to pathologize the things that show up and catastrophize with those things, because all of a sudden I got a stack with 4 pieces of mail in, and it's like, oh my God, this is going to take 2 hours. It ends up taking about 2 minutes because 2 of the pieces are junk mail, and there's another piece that I know I just need to file away, and there's another one I need to shred, and that's it. And I'm done, but I make it much bigger in my mind, and then that 4 pieces of mail turns into a pile of mail and turns into boxes and all these other things that need to be taken care of. And it becomes this procrastination pile. And that is deadly for creative work because I found that working from home especially, I assume your office space is like a dedicated space. So you're not sharing it with like a laundry room or anything else like that?
Luckily, no.
Okay.
It's just a dedicated space.
Yeah. I bring that up because it can become really difficult to work from home because there's always things to be done around the house. I could have the checklist of here's the 12 things that I need to do before I get to work. I need to empty out the dishwasher. I need to put away the silverware. I need to fold the clothes. Oh, crap, there's still clothes in the washer. I need to put them in the dryer. Oh, I forgot to make the bed. And before you know it, an hour and a half has gone by, and you've ticked off 9 out of the 12 things on your list. You still have 3 more things that are looming over you. And if you're in that shared space, it becomes more difficult. If you're in an office space where you can either go to, whether that's a co-working space or an office that you drive to, or it just happens to be you have, like I do, I have a home office at home. We had an extra bedroom we converted into a home office. The only use for it is to get work done. If I'm going to work at home, it's going to be in that room. And it's basically like I'm commuting to a different space. And I'm not bothered by the intrusions throughout the house throughout the day. Besides that, though, I want to optimize the space for, as you said, beauty. I think that's really important. And beauty is in the eye of the beholder. For me, I like a really clean, simple, minimalist aesthetic. And because of that, I like places like Design Within Reach or Herman Miller. Design Within Reach is exactly what it sounds like. These are things that are more expensive than, say, an IKEA because it's not the really cheap particle board most of the time, but it's not like really, really high-end, super expensive. And these are pieces that will last for a very long time. Here at the studio, and we have a writer's room downstairs, and there's a custom table we had made from Herman Miller, and we've had that for, a decade now, and it's still pristine, and the chairs that go with it are still pristine, and we use those regularly. We used to record the podcast at that table. And so it's the simple details that matter. They matter much more when you're in a simple space. You go down to the writer's room down there, and there's a giant painting on the wall. Our friend Beulah put it together. She painted it, and we put it on the wall there. And there's brick behind it, and the walls are white, and there are a few sound panels in there that are white as well. And it's the attention to detail, those elements. But it's much more about what isn't in there, what isn't on the desk, what isn't taking up space in your cabinets, what isn't on your to-do list, what isn't there is just as important as what you do put into the room. So in order to figure out, what can I go without? One of the things I often do is I go work from other spaces and see how little I actually need to do what I'm doing. So I did this just last week. I was working at a coffee shop down the street here from the studio. And I just brought my laptop, and it's amazing how little I need. And then if I get a little twinge of, oh yeah, I'm missing this, or oh, I really need this. Okay, how can I get by without it? How long does it make sense to get by without it? I don't want to deprive myself long term, but I also want to recognize that many of the things I think I need are things I was told I'm supposed to have. If I were to tell you I'm looking at an advertisement of the perfect office space right now, you would probably say, well, there's a desk, and there's a chair, and there's a credenza, and there is this desk lamp, and there's nothing wrong with any of those things, but do I need those things? And the answer quite often is no, I don't need the things that other people have assigned me to say, this is what a studio looks like, this is what an office space looks like, this is what a home looks like. And so when you come here into the studio, it's aggressively simple. It doesn't really look like a living room, although there are elements to a living room here. It doesn't look like a workstation, although there are a couple IKEA desks over there. Savvy D's at the workstation right now, very simple white IKEA desk. And then you look here at this custom desk we have here at the studio. We had this one built for the space because we knew we'd be able to use it for years and it would be beautiful. But they're beautiful because we don't have all of the excess stuff in here that would get in the way. And so as you're designing the space, asking what you're going to put in there, I think is important. Asking what you can go without or what you can take out of the space, temporarily deprive yourself of, also adds to that beauty. Also, for the longest time, I'll be frank with you, Austin, I used to just work at my kitchen table. And so, like, we think we need all of these things, right? It's like, oh, I need the perfect monitor. I need the perfect standing desk. I need the ergonomic chair. And okay, those things, nothing wrong with those things. But sometimes getting the work done just means sitting down at the kitchen table and actually doing it. And I became so conditioned to that until I moved to Ojai, I wrote all of my books at kitchen tables or at coffee shops. Like, it didn't require a bunch of equipment. I remember when Nicodemus and I first moved to a cabin in the middle of nowhere in Montana, I needed a desk because I had a small room with low ceilings that I would hit my head on. And I needed a desk to write at. And we went to a local thrift shop. There was a $3 desk that was falling apart. There was a hardware store that was nearby. And we just bought some screws and some other things to put the desk back together. And so for $3, I wrote my best-selling book on a $3 desk on a piece of junk that someone was basically trying to throw out. I bring that up because, yes, I want a beautiful space, but I also don't want to mistake the space for the work itself. The work itself can be done no matter where you are. What am I going to do to the space to amplify the work and also get rid of the things that are distracting me? Do you have anything in particular that is distracting you right now from your work?
Anything particular? I'd say more so my hand dexterity. I'm not sure if that's the right way to word it, but sometimes my index finger and middle finger can hurt a little bit after I'm done at the end of the day. And I've experimented with different mouses. I guess that's the core thing that is bringing me the least value, I guess you could say.
Yeah, it's bringing you pain, right? And so, like, we don't want pain associated with it. And I've been experiencing that too. I have this pinched nerve in my neck, and it's been exacerbated by long periods of sitting. And so I'm at a point now where I can't sit for long periods of time. I also can't stand in the same position for a long period of time. And so it's forcing me into different types of movement. I'm floor sitting a lot more right now. In fact, I'm going to send you this video. We'll put a link to it in the show notes as well. I don't know if you've ever considered floor sitting, but it has really helped a lot of people's issues. I've been doing floor sleeping recently, and so I've been interested to think about, like, okay, what can I go without? How do I get lower to the ground? Because for the longest time, we didn't sit in chairs. When we sit in chairs for prolonged periods of time, it destroys our hip mobility. Our hip flexors get super tight, and then we get that anterior pelvic tilt, and it becomes a nightmare. We lose height, we start to get in pain, and then we get pain all the way down. My neck pain is often a result of what's going on my ankle or my knee. And it's because it's all connected. It's not like my knee and my neck are standing in opposite corners of the room. And because we lose that mobility, because we're sitting there at a desk every day, I'm constantly asking myself, like, how do what would it look like to be more ancestral? And I know for most of human history, whether it's 300,000 years or even proto-humans for 2.5 million years, we've been moving. We've never sat in chairs until the last couple hundred years, really. And even then, like, we had chairs in homes, but we didn't sit at them for 8 hours a day. And so we've lost the ability to do a deep squat and stay in that position. Every day I get into a deep squat for 5 minutes twice a day and just stay there in that position so I don't lose that again. I lost it for several decades, and it took a while to get that back. So I've got this video here that a lot of people have found value in. I'll put a link to it in the show notes so you can check it out. But it's floor sitting while at work, and they have a desk that they use and a whole setup. And they talk about the pros and cons, because it's not all ponies and rainbows here. There are some trade-offs with some of these things. And reworking your space so that maybe sometimes you are sitting on the floor. Maybe sometimes you're sitting in the chair, or maybe sometimes you're standing up at the desk, or maybe sometimes you're just up and moving in ways that make sense. Maybe you're just seated in a deep squat for a little while you're on a phone call with a colleague. And so you get to decide, how often am I moving? What you've realized right now is, I'm already experienced a little bit of pain. It hasn't been enough pain that you've had to make some dramatic change. But if enough pain shows up, you'll be willing to try anything, whether it's floor sitting or, a standing desk treadmill thing. I've done those in the past as well. That doesn't work for me, and that's okay. But like trying out certain things to know what works, and if it doesn't work, being willing to walk away from that as well has been really helpful for me. I've been using an Etsy standing desk recently that also I can squat at. I just bought it recently. I'll put a link to it in the show notes as well. Some guy makes it, put it up on Etsy, and I just found it to be useful because I can use it, say, if I was here at the studio, I could be on the floor and I could just squat down and work at it, or I could stand up at a standing desk height like I am right now, or I could be on the couch over there, and it's adjustable. And I found that for me, having that adjustability allows me to get into those different positions that have been useful for me, because the best position is the next position. I find more pain shows up, and this could be a metaphor for life. More pain shows up as I stay put in the same place.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense of the constant movement. The next movement is the best movement. And you kind of helped remind me that I guess Paul Saladino's like diet philosophy is somewhat stemming from an elimination diet, going down, stemming to the core of meat and fruit. And then if you tolerate others, add other things, kind of applying that to this. I don't know what the principle is called, but going down to the skeleton of your work, going to the kitchen with your laptop, making sure you can work from there, and then slowly integrating other things. If you need other things, that's just a really good reminder.
Yeah. And then when it comes to a simple space, I often say the bones are the beauty. And that's important, getting down to the skeleton, you said. But like, you look at the studio space we're in here, and I want the details to be as beautiful as possible. And that becomes a type of art. I mean, Professor Sean's over here on the couch. You can't see it on camera right now, but there's this giant sound panel behind him, but it's made of canvas. So it looks like a beautiful piece of art that is the most minimalist piece of art. There's no artwork on it. It's almost like a statement piece. And it is functional, but it's also beautiful. And even if it wasn't functional, if this was a silent meditation space, it would still be beautiful. And I think that's important. I want to be able to go to a space that I feel calm in. I want to feel that full body sigh when I walk into a space. Just, Now, it's not just visual, right? When we have some Sonos speakers in here, and we just throw on Zen Garden whenever we start working. And then Savvy D has the essential oil diffuser going, and so it smells good in here. Or Professor Sean's making some coffee, and you could smell that in the air. And then we have an air filter in here. Air Oasis, I think, is the brand. Yeah. So we're breathing clean air as well. All of this is part of the experience, but it's always bringing those things out that no longer fit in the space. You're not going to find a bunch of superfluous things in here. One last thing to think about, we call it the out in the open rule. I'm sure you have heard of it, but in fact, we need to do this really soon here in the studio, because it's been another year that and it's the end of the year right now, and it's like the perfect time to do it. You drag everything out in the open. And this is especially useful in workspaces because, well, you have cabinets, you have file cabinets, you have sideboards and credenzas, and you have drawers that sometimes we just throw things in there and out of sight, out of mind. But I want it to be top of mind. So we bring everything out, clear out all the drawers, all the cabinets, get everything off the desk. We put it on the floor. We put it where it's not supposed to be. And then we find a home for it. And most of the time, the home is a donation pile or some things we just sell. Like, nope, haven't used this in the last 90 days. Nope, not going to use it in the next 90 days. Let's sell it, see if we can get some of our money back for it. And by the way, someone else can get value from it because it's just sitting there collecting dust on a shelf or in a drawer somewhere. So bringing everything out in the open. And then once you've gotten rid of 30% of it, 50% of it, 80% of it, you put the things back that you're actually using, and the experience of using those things is so much better because, well, now I'm not digging through all the things I don't use just to find the things I actually do use. Austin, thank you so much for your question. I'm going to end this with, I've got this video from a friend of mine. Her name's Havala, so you'll be able to take a look at this video. She's been doing a lot more video work with her art. She just moved to Hawaii, and she is a super talented painter, and she's been filming a lot of it. And she uses these 3 different tripods, and she's been getting a lot of questions about what kind of equipment do you use? And I thought this was the perfect illustration of what we were talking about a moment ago. Check this out.
So since I started making more videos, I've had a bunch of people reaching out to me asking what type of tripod I use. I actually use 3 different types of tripods, and I thought I would share them with you guys and rank them, my least favorite to my most favorite.
Oh, Havala. Also, look at the video right here. For our audio listeners, it's her 3 different tripods. One is like a stack of books, and the other is a painting easel that she uses. She just sort of wraps the camera lanyard around the easel, and then the other one is just like the laws of physics. She'll dangle the camera off of anything in order to film the stuff. And I think it makes you realize, like, we often think we have an excuse to not do something we want to do because we don't have the perfect equipment. I don't have the right pen, so I can't write the best story. I don't have the most expensive computer, so I can't do graphic design, right? I don't have the best yoga pants, so I can't go do yoga right now. It's like, no, that misses the point. Those accessories are all fine, and I'm not against those things. We have nice equipment here in the studio. But when we started this podcast, it was in a janitor's closet at the University of Montana a decade ago next month. And literally, they just dragged the mops and brooms and cleaning supplies out of this closet in the basement level of the startup incubator they had there at the University of Montana. They let us rent a janitor's closet. We crammed 2 desks in there. It was me and Ryan and Podcast Sean and 1 microphone to start recording this podcast. We had a computer and we just plugged it in and we went for it. And some of our most popular episodes ever were recorded on that 1 crappy microphone into GarageBand on an old MacBook. And we didn't wait for perfection. In fact, perfection is this standard. Flawlessness is this, it's actually the lowest possible standard. Because if you want something to be flawless, that's your excuse to never do it. Because you know it's never going to be flawless. So you just don't do it. And I think that's often what gets in the way of our minimalism, our simplifying, our letting go. It's like, I need this to be perfect and I need it to be perfect right now. Well, it's already perfect. Perfect just means complete. But it's never going to be flawless. This studio isn't flawless. This podcast is never flawless. And if I waited for it to be flawless in the most flawless studio, we wouldn't have even recorded a single episode at this point. I think my friend Havala, she illustrates that really well. She's like, just wrap the camera around something and start filming. And in your case, it's like, yeah, what do I have where I can do the work now? And then, of course, yeah, you can buy the accessories that add value to your life, and then you can let go of them when they cease to add value. Thanks for your question, Austin. I appreciate you, brother.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching this highlight. If you'd like to check out another one, you can watch this clip here. Or if you'd like to watch the full episode for this highlight clip, you can check out this one here. Or you can dive into the full private podcast by subscribing via the Patreon link in the description for this video. Your Patreon support is what helps keep this podcast 100% advertisement free.